Welcome to the Big Cats Women's Program 30th Anniversary Podcast. I'm your host Simone Wern, and over the next few episodes we'll be celebrating 30 years of women's baseball at the Springvale Lions Baseball Club. Join us as we share the stories and the moments that have helped shape our program and make it what it is today. This week for episode 3 we're excited to be joined by the pitchers, Ella and Kat, as we look back to the early 2000s. It was the start of a successful period for our Division 1 team, with number 20 and number 24 playing pivotal roles both on and off the diamond. So come along and help us celebrate what has been a great 30 years full of memories and laughs. Let's get into it. All right, welcome to episode 3 of our 30th anniversary podcast. A big, huge welcome to two of my all-time favourites, Catherine.
Oh, thank you, Simone.
Kat and Ella. How are you, girls?
We're good.
Very well.
I'm very happy to be here.
Very happy
Yes.
to see you both.
Yeah, it's been a very long time with Ella. So
It's funny because the first thing I was going to say is if you had to tell me when the last time the three of us were sitting down talking about baseball in the same place together was, I couldn't tell you. It was a long time ago, wasn't it?
when did you finish up at Springvale? Like played your last
I
game?
think it was the year I got married, which was 2011.
Shivers. Then there you go.
Yeah, so close to 15 years ago. It was a long time.
Yeah.
I'm really appreciative of your time. I know both of you moved on. When I say moved on, Kat's still involved, but moved on from playing after a significant contribution on the field and off the field. We'll come to that later on. Both married, both got kids. Cats are a little bit hairier than Ella's
I've got
kids.
2 Burmese.
And
Arthur and Martha.
Arthur and Martha.
Hi from...
But I know it's not easy for you guys to be here, so I do really appreciate you giving up your time. This week's episode, episode 1 was the OGs. We had Minnie and Dodsy. Episode 2 was the girls from Gippsland with Hannah and Nick, which we haven't published yet. But I had to call this episode The Pitchers because if you talk to me or talk to anyone else who's been around the club for a long time and they say, who have been the pitchers at Springvale? The two that I think of immediately are you two. And we're going to delve into that a little bit today. Before we do, though, I want to go back to the start. And this is going to test your memories because I want you to tell us when you first arrived at the club. Do you remember the year or approximately what year it was? But tell us about what it was like coming to the club for the first time. And you both came from other clubs. Ella, do you want to kick us off?
I remember us being in Toronto together. Very... So many funny memories of Toronto.
That's 23 years ago.
A really dodgy place that we stayed in.
Yep.
For anyone listening who doesn't know what Ella's saying, this isn't the first ever Aussie team. The three of us were there playing for Australia.
Yeah, and we were staying in a dormitory
like
kind
backpacker.
of backpackers place. I think there
Red
was a
light
drug
district.
overdose as we were staying there, and the ambulance came.
Yep.
We had workers, prostitutes on every corner
red light
around
district, I think you'd like to call it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was like St Kilda.
And my goodness, the things we had so many fun moments in those rooms and the passageways and
Never had jet
beach
lag
balls
before.
out the window and
Yeah.
watching to see who would pick it up, which homeless person, I think. And,
I'm sure there was a gunshot that we woke to, I reckon.
Several.
There was.
full on.
And we're only, how old were we then? I think I was 21.
I would have been.
Yeah, I was 20.
Or I was 21 or
Yeah,
22.
19, So
you would have been
because I was
19
excited to be
probably,
able to
Ella.
Yeah.
legally drink in America. So that was
Yeah.
wonderful. But you guys were
And
a bit younger.
I think it started there, like the talks with Chandel and yourself, Simone.
Yeah.
My club, Blackburn, who I loved playing for. I have fond memories of Blackburn Baseball Club. we didn't have a team anymore. We didn't have enough players, and they weren't we weren't going to have a women's team. So I needed a new home
You
to
needed
go
to play
to.
somewhere. Yeah.
And I was looking at a few places, and Melbourne was one of them, Melbourne Club, and
Yep.
they had the incentive of having a MCC membership and
yes.
everything.
yeah.
And
I think I got offered that too.
Yeah.
I remember a certain player that we used to
That's
play
so
with that
funny.
we love out there, Pam Donald. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Simone and Chandel came over to my house and
Oh.
talked me up. I didn't have a license.
Did
I
that?
didn't
Where
have a
they did you
car.
take her to McDonald's
So it
or
was a
something?
big-
Somewhere flash?
I'm
Right in
gonna
there.
stop you because I want to quiz you
There's
more on this.
Oh God.
But I think it's a great introduction, and I said this in the first episode with Ninny and Dodsy. We won all these premierships, and we were so competitive. Like I'm not sure you could meet three more white line fever competitive players
Yeah.
than the three of us in this room. But to be honest, when you look back at everything and what you've just reminded us of, is just the hilarious, ridiculous things that happened and that we did. They're the things that I remember more than almost anything.
Yeah.
And that trip to Toronto, I think, was the start of really a great... We were all sort of kind of friends, but that...
We knew each other.
Yeah, but that
Because
trip
we played
was...
in
But-
the
Yeah.
state teams
We knew
together.
each other
Yeah.
as, oh yeah, she plays for Springvale and she plays for Doncaster.
And we'd give each other
you
always
know.
that dirty look in the car park.
But
and then we
being a
would play each
team, then
other.
coming together and being a team together, we
Yeah.
really got and we lived together for a
Yeah.
couple of weeks,
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks at
Yeah.
a time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We really got to know each
we
other.
did.
Well, that was the good thing about club baseball is that when the state team first started, we didn't know each other, and then by the time we were going to each other's grounds for club, you would dislike each other for that 2 hours or whatever it was, but then you would want to catch up and talk a bit of
Yeah.
poop in the car park and enjoy each other,
Absolutely.
and then all of a sudden we're becoming friends.
Yeah.
You know, and
We're going to come back to your story
Okay.
in a minute, and I'm going to go to you, Kat, and ask you about your memory of coming to the club, and what do you remember about that time? And I suppose you came and we were sort of on the cusp of winning our first flag. I think the first year you played, we won.
well, what year was that? Did I come at the same time as you, or did
No,
did
I
you
think you
guys
were
play?
a year
Ella
later
was
at
before
least,
you.
Yeah, right.
I think 2 years before you.
Oh, there you go too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
In
right.
fact,
So
you
was it after the 04?
no, it was 2003, 2004, I believe. So
Right.
that was we made the grand final and we lost.
Yeah, and we probably partied very. Is that the where we hired that bus with the horses on the side?
Oh my God.
No,
See,
no. I
And-
think
and-
that came after.
and
that
your-
came after.
friend / now husband at the time dressed up in a paddle
That
pop.
wasn't the same.
No, that was a couple of years later.
Yeah.
Right.
Where we lost.
Because geez, we seem to party harder
We did.
when we lose.
You can't talk about that either because
Okay.
partying harder is also on my agenda
Oh,
for
wow.
discussion later.
Well, there's a lot to talk
We're
about.
here all day.
I
But,
know.
but before we move on, Kat, I want
Yes.
any memories of coming over and sort of you started your career at the Moorabbin Baseball Club
Yep.
and had some great success down there and potentially moved on to sort of you'd gone on to play for Victoria and
Yeah.
Australia and you'd moved to Monty
Yeah.
/ Doncaster and then you came over. What was it like coming into our environment
Yeah.
and being part of the club?
I see. You jogged my memory even last week about. I can't even remember. So after every Division 1 game, because we're all playing Division 1, you said to me, if I played for Doncaster at that point, then I must have looked straight on my phone to see where Springvale was playing.
No,
And
you'd already asked us or checked where we were playing
There
and
you
told us you
go.
were coming to our game afterwards.
So I don't even remember this. So I would have been in my VN Commodore coming on down, and turning up. And I think I enjoyed hanging out with you guys more than playing with the team I was playing at the time. And then that must have just, I was like, well, I want to play with these guys. And obviously back then, at least, as long as you'd paid all your fees and everything, no one can stop you, which is, and we're playing because we love this great game. So I think that's sort of, but I can't remember coming to your games because, it was a long time ago.
It was a long time
but
ago.
obviously, and the uniform's a good colour, so that always helps. Wearing grey pants, it helps the larger lass. So all of those sorts of things. But as soon as I got to the club even now, it is, everyone there just loved women's baseball, and it was quite early on as well. But we had so many of the blokes from the ones all wanting to chip in at training, and like our training nights. Do you remember our training nights on a Tuesday night? I used to, and I was a baker. I had awful times and whatever with work, but being at training, and we'd train for our 2 hours, and I didn't enjoy training that much as long as I got a pen in and had a bit of a hit. But it was the after part of training. Do you remember like those warm summer nights? And we would be there, and I reckon there would have been 40 odd people always sticking around. And, and we'd all just
talking
and probably maybe having one too many soft drinks and doing silly things driving home and all of those sorts of things. But that's what made our club great. And we, all the ones blokes hung around. And then for those years too, we, on a Sunday, majority of us would go and watch the men's play. And they were at that point in Division 1 or Division 2 or whatever it was at the time. Yeah. And then on a Saturday, all the guys would be at our game, and it was just a big family club, and
it really was.
We
had a lot of support.
And those memories, even now, talking about our Calcutta nights and all of those great nights that we had, they come back and you just joke with each other about how fantastic they were. Definitely. And silly and... Yes. So that's sort of my memories of early on at the club.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
They're great memories.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't want to do as part of this podcast is spend too much time talking about sort of the elite players, because I think one thing that's different about our club is the contribution from so many that have never played for Victoria, never played for Australia. And I don't want to take anything away from those people, because I think they've done as much, if not more, than most of us. Yep. But it would be remiss of me not to mention some of the things that you two have done in your time playing baseball and the achievements. I went through a couple of my little files, and I found you two in the paper back in the early 2000s. Kat, on the next page, that's 2003, and Mick was the coach at the time. He was interviewed, and you were the gun recruit, apparently.
Oh, yeah, that's in my second favourite uniform, I'd say now.
But the three of us spent a lot of time together during that period, and we actually spent more time together than probably other players, because we never really played. Let's be honest.
No.
Like we even for Kat, while Ella and I were with you on the Vic team and national team, you probably pitched more than us.
Yeah.
But the three of us spent a lot of time on the bench, a lot of time talking crap, a lot of time doing stupid stuff that was really fun.
Well, that's what made us the pitchers, wasn't it? And then and the other girls all of a sudden wanted to be cool and wanted to be with the pitchers, and it's like, no, you play every day.
Yeah, go away.
So you guys can bugger off, because we're sitting up there. Remember, we would sit up the end, and you wouldn't even be able to watch the game.
We got pitchers cushions.
That's right. I think you did that for us.
Great.
You or Annie did that.
They were sits for so long.
And our numbers on our
needed to avoid the splinters.
Yeah.
So on the left there is a picture of us when we won in Tamworth, and then obviously that was National Championships 2004, and then on the right, obviously Ella
Yeah.
You pitched
Look at you guys.
the gold medal game, the only gold medal this country's ever won in international women's
goodness.
baseball.
Is that at the Tropicana?
Tropicana Field,
Dome.
There you go.
MLB Stadium against Japan. One of the greatest, like people
I love
ask me
that,
about
mate.
my favourite moments. One of my favourite moments was getting to be in that stadium and be part of the team, but that you got to pitch.
Yeah.
And I pitched the day before to
you
help
got
get us in there, and it was great. But it was just so cool that we got to be part of that.
Yep.
And I feel like we really contribute. You know, when you're in the team and you don't really play, and it's great, but when you do get to contribute, I think there's this sense of, man, I really helped the team here.
Yeah.
And I think for you hadn't maybe had that yet. Like you'd been, Tarina had pitched and Binksy had pitched, and
I
Kat
certainly
had
wasn't
pitched.
one of the stars, one of the.
And I think I
front
felt like
runners.
that too. And I think that tournament for us, some people will say, oh, it wasn't a proper team. It was an Australian team representing
still
Australia at a
wins.
World
Yeah.
Series, and we beat Japan in an MLB stadium. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It
Not
gets
quite
better
sure
than
about
that.
those uniforms though.
Yeah.
Like it would have been great
They
to
were
have.
free, mate.
Yeah, I know. so I get that, but
And they
I
wanted them
wish-
back.
I
and I
wish-
said, sorry, I'm keeping mine.
Did you slam it in your
I
bag?
kept
And
it.
yeah, good on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They did want them back.
Yeah.
But I
That's
look,
excellent,
I
mate.
wanted to
Yeah.
highlight the fact that, you know, you two have contributed a lot and achieved a lot in your baseball. And anyone who's watching this who doesn't know a lot about Ella and Kat, it's super important that our young players and even our older players who are new to the club know who you guys are, and that you were just dominators on the field. Particularly, I
And
will say the
yourself.
pitcher's mound, but you both played other positions. Ella a lot in the outfield, Kat first and third.
Yeah,
and you
I
both
thought about that yesterday.
contributed
Loved
hitting.
centre field.
I thought about that yesterday. I was like, well, I only played first. But there was a couple of seasons there where Mick would have had to have flicked us all around.
Yeah.
And then I got a couple of Guernseys at third, and then if I rocketed one over first base, then I'm back to first. So, but that didn't happen that often because my arm was poor at that point
Bit like
in time.
Chevy
But,
did that
yeah.
at Port one day and
But
never
you
played
were-
third again, I'm pretty
You-
sure.
Yeah, you were our centre fielder, and then
loved
when you
centre field.
pitched, you would be at first, or you'd go to the outfield, or
Yeah.
you'd be second base.
And that was the beauty of club baseball. though.
Yes.
You could do that. You didn't have to. It wasn't, you just had one position.
No,
And then
no.
you're.
I
you know,
think, and I was thinking about it yesterday. I think the those might have been 3 or 4 or 5 years or whatever it was that we had Mick and Greg. I think it was, which you're going to show us a photo later, but. You know, they must have just thought, my God, as in compared to, you know, when you struggle now if you've only got 1 or 2 pitches, there was the 3 of us, and I'll throw Kelly Manzi in there as well
Yeah.
because she was our left-hander
Yeah.
that she would catch, but then no,
She could come
it's
in.
2 to 1, 1
Yep.
to 2, and she's coming in. She's coming in to pitch, and so for four pitches, it's just my God. You know, they were blessed to go, well, we can hand the ball to either of those 4, and we were doing the
Absolutely.
job, you know. So
It's
I
a
loved
really
that
important
time.
part. Yeah,
I
that's a
loved
really
that
great
time
point.
for us, you know.
I'll probably raise that again, but just really quickly I like to have a bit of an agenda because I know Chevy will be watching this and she'll be very proud of me when she sees there's a clear agenda. She likes a bit of structure.
Yep.
And so there's a few things we're going to touch on. And the first one, Ella, is you've sort of started to tell this story, but for anyone listening out there who is not from Springvale, well, and from Springvale, I guess, there has been a lot of discussion, even over recent years, about Springvale trying to recruit everyone and taking everyone's players and la-di-da-di-da. I'm here to put it on the record and make it really clear that we have recruited one player in 30 years to come to this club. Everyone else came of their own accord, called me. In fact, Kat texted me one day, I think, and just said, I'm coming to Springvale,
Oh, my God.
with an exclamation mark. I was like, all right.
There you go.
But, Ella, I'll get you to talk a bit more
I'm the
about
recruit.
So you're the recruit.
You're the recruit.
You're the
I-
only one, mate.
I have a really clear memory of this because Rossi had come over from Port. It was after we'd been to Toronto, and Rossi had obviously had success at Port. She'd been playing for a while, a new challenge. She wanted to help out, and she lived quite close to Springy. And I sat down with her. I said, look, we've got an opportunity here. Blackburn aren't going to have a team, and I knew that because she told me. And Buzz, your best mate Buzz, and you were looking for clubs. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm sure Ella's going to go with Buzz wherever she goes, but I want to have a crack here. I want to try. We're going to have to go to her house in Croydon,
all the way to Croydon,
in the middle of bloody nowhere from Berwick. We're going to her house and we're going to meet with her. So we organised to meet with you. We drove to Croydon. We sat down with you and basically begged and pleaded. And the key to us getting this over the line
Oh, God.
Oh, God. Was there were two parts. The first one was you had no licence and no car.
Yes.
So you said, well, this is great. How am I getting there? I said, well, I'll give you money for that's
amazing.
it. I'll come and pick you up.
You came and picked me up.
That's awesome.
So I came and picked you up for a while, and then Dodsey did, and Emma Medwin came, and so we sort of split the load a bit. But then the second part was that we'd party at the Hallam Hotel. And we did that too.
God.
Right.
I hope there's no photos.
Luckily for us, social media didn't exist
No.
back then. We are safe. But you are the only recruit, and to be honest, it was a little bit selfish on my part because I'd been at the club since it began.
When you were 4?
Well,
maybe
since
earlier.
the women's program started 7 or 8 years prior,
Yeah.
and I was the only pitcher because Huffy had gone, and I was like, if we're going to win, we need more pitchers, and we need pitchers who can play other positions. I was like, Ella is the best, and she's fun. Like, she'll fit in great. And here we are, 2024. 30 years later.
And we're all in our 40s.
So, the only recruit, the sole recruit, how does it feel looking back? And you mentioned it at the start, but, you became such a pivotal part of what we do at the club and a big part of our history. You know, Ella 20 may never have been if we didn't drive to Croydon.
Very special time in my life. Lots of good memories. And like you said before, it's maybe like I messaged you and said, I don't know how I'm going to go with this because I don't have a stats mind. I don't remember what position I was playing in particular games. I don't remember the scores for games. But you talk about those moments outside, our friendships and funny moments we've had.
It all comes.
And they're the moments that you remember and that I cherish so much. Yeah. And I remember so clearly,
Absolutely.
It's the off-field stuff that we remember more than the games.
So, being a part of, that is really special to me, looking back and being a part of that team. Not only the club was awesome. And, you've already said, Kat, that we had so much support from the men and, the whole club. We were a really good club, tight club, probably still are. But our team was also so tight and we were great friends and, we looked out for each other on the field. We really we were a great team, I think.
Agree.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And as you say that, I'm sure, Kat, you're doing this too, but I'm just thinking about that. I'm going to show the photo in a minute, but that winning that first premiership, I think, people ask if it's 21 grand finals in a row and you've won 15 premierships. What's your favourite? The first premiership nothing will ever feel as special as I still love winning and I'm really competitive, but I don't think anything will ever beat the feeling of winning that first one.
Yeah.
And that group of us that had, we'd been through a bit and we'd really been challenging.
We lost the year before.
Lost.
But especially for you, and I know you don't want this, you've already said you don't want this to be a focus on you, Simone, but I have to say, you were with the club for many years and stayed with us through a lot of losses.
Yeah.
And it must have been really super special to you to finally get there and be a Division 1 winner.
Absolutely.
For you especially.
Yeah. Well, we hadn't won one either, had we?
No.
I toiled away at Moorabbin and then at Doncaster, and we came close at Doncaster. But to get that. And even just what you were talking about was that how many years did we go out to Altona to watch Grand Final Day, sitting up in the
drinking
stands,
20 beers.
Port Melbourne.
pretty much.
Yeah.
We would watch Port Melbourne play Malvern
Yeah.
year after year, and you just go, oh God, it'd be nice to be there on the day,
Yeah.
because we just never got close. I loved just making Division 1 to start with when they had all, 50 odd teams back in 1994, 95 or whatever year it was. But to actually make Division 1, but then to play in the final or the last game, I just never dreamt that we would ever get there. So to play out at Altona, how exciting was that when we were young?
It was.
To play on
Even though
AstroTurf,
we had to pay to get in and play.
and it was a
but
long way.
It was good.
And being out there,
was special.
being out there last year, Ella, like it's a great place to be now.
Yeah,
it's
right.
been done up. They spent a fair bit of money on it,
Yeah.
and it's just I don't get out there. I'm the coach now, but it's
It still feels special.
it's
Yeah, it's
a
special.
beautiful
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
So those
Nice.
times are
Yeah.
just so that very first one. Oh
Yeah.
my God, and
It- You've already answered my question of looking back, Kat. You just started talking about it, which leads me into the photo
look at
that
that photo.
I said I'd bring up. Not the best quality because it's a photo of a photo on my phone.
right,
Because again, we didn't have the digital means that we have now
God,
back in
so
04,
old,
05.
aren't
But
we?
if you have a look at that, I mean, what a game. What a win it was, and we can see some familiar faces there
yeah.
involved. Obviously, Mick and Greg. I can see Rob up the back, but it was really Mick and Greg who'd been driving that program,
Yes. Yeah.
for a few years, and who really stepped things up for us. I think we probably at times needed a bit of a kick up the bum because we were pretty good, and we worked pretty hard. But I think and we'll come back to Mick later.
Both those guys on a Tuesday night just pushed us.
Well, they
And,
expected. They had high expectations.
They did.
and whatever their age was at the time, they're both working full-time jobs, and they would get there at 5 o'clock and have trainings prepared, and
Oh, definitely.
those days they were great. They were great times. Hard. We trained hard.
Yeah.
We played hard, and we also partied hard. So that was what it
We
was
were
all
young
about.
enough to do that.
Well, we could. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But look, a great memory of a great time, and no, I don't think you can't ever take away from your first premiership, and I think we enjoyed that a lot. We certainly enjoyed it a lot that night. I brought up some photos individually though that I wanted to just have a quick look at, and Kat, these are your photos, and the one on the left I thought was really fitting because obviously it's you and one of our other favourites, Huffy,
Yeah.
embracing after the 2012-13 grand final, which it was even cooler because it was Super Saturday at our club.
And it was at Springy, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It was pretty. Was it cold? I've got a
I
feeling
think it was cold.
a
It had
bit
rained.
ordinary.
It had
yeah,
rained, and
yeah.
we beat Doncaster that
and
year.
the score was high.
It was.
It wasn't a 3-2 ball game. It
No.
was. It was.
We pumped them.
No, well,
No?
No,
You know
I
what
think
you're
it was just
saying?
high scoring.
It was.
Yeah.
It was horrendous.
Okay.
But I think we won by 3 or 4. Was it? It could have been like 14-11
Yeah,
or
it was-
Remember
something.
these things, but yeah.
Very
yeah.
high scoring.
But there was some really nice things that happened that day, and I remember Jade running out and just jumping into me, and whoever took that photo it probably was Brian Shay's dad probably
Yeah.
caught that
it would have
photo.
been.
Got
Yeah.
a few, yeah.
But that comes up because I'm still on Facebook. I'm not on your X and your Twitters and all that garbage. But that still comes up on my memory, and
Nice.
I now Jade lives in Albury, but I still shoot her that picture and
Yeah.
vice versa because we've got some ripping memory. And even with Jade, so I've known out of everybody, I've known Jade the longest. We were both 8 years. Oh no, we might have been 9 or 10 playing in a DBA junior boys team together down at Geelong, and that's where we both looked at each other and went, ugh, and we had to room together, and because we were the only two girls in the
yeah.
team. And all these years later, and we're still mates now, you know.
Yeah.
And that her catching. I mean, the catches that we had. You know, I'm going off topic, but the catches that we had that us three got to pitch to.
Yeah.
My God, like you normally get one catcher, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But we had three or
Yeah.
four, and they were bloody guns.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, absolutely.
So for us to, you know, be in the stretch and throw under the plate, and then you turn around, it's flicked over to second, and we get the second or third out, and we're walking off the field. My God,
great feeling.
you know. So yeah, love that photo.
Well,
Love
and
it.
from one catcher to another, on the right is a photo of Chevy, and I brought that up because again, it's the memories of the people. I think that you share the moments on the diamond with and off the diamond, but Chevy, obviously one of your best mates still to this day.
Yeah.
What's it been like? And you played with her for a long time. You stepped away for a few years and you're back involved with the program. What's it been like to sort of come back? And to be honest, you're probably in awe of what she does. She's 43 years old, still catching Division 1, still holding her own, still one of the better players in the league. Tell us a little bit about your friendship and what it means to still be at the club with Chevy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was a couple of years ago. So we've been very good mates. But I think as we've got older, we've become tighter. And I stepped away from baseball for sure. I think I retired on 3 grand finals wins in a row, and we just went, that'll do. And did step away, but that entire time I would always be texting her, how's baseball going? And in that time, she went and had 2 kids and kept pushing, and she was still the starting catcher for the ones. So for her, Trent, and the kids to be able to juggle all of that is just, it's phenomenal. But our friendship has become pretty tight, and now, 2 years ago, I messaged her and I said, you know, I've got that itch again, and it's definitely not to play, because it was funny because I messaged her and said, I've got something I want to run by you, ask you. And I think she shit herself straight away and just went, oh. Anyway, and she rang the next day, because being a mum, you can never get a hold of someone straight away. It's always a day or two later, or she's calling on the way home with the kids in the car and always says, Kat, the kids are in the car, don't swear. So that's how we roll now. But I sort of said, look, I want to come back to the club and give back to the club, and you know, I don't know if I'm a great coach, but I like the one-on-ones with the girls. I'll get to meet some of these girls because they won't even know who I am. And what do you think? And she said, I think that's just unreal. And I'll put it to Simone, and within 2 or 3 days, you know, we're having a 3-way conversation on the phone, and we all catch up, and that's just how it came about. So
Nice.
being game day coach in the ones is, you know, there's times I still ask Simone, you know, things, because she's coached at the top level, being the Australian coach. But I love learning from these girls, and Chevy still brings that calmness to me as well. So pitching to Chevy, out of our catches that we've had, Chevy always pulled me back into line as me throwing to her. And I'd always blow my lid about a call, and and then we'd go off into the dugout, and she'd be like, "It was tight, but no, it was a ball."
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Oh, okay." And I'd just listen to her because she's, you know, a teacher, and she goes into teacher mode. But yeah, our friendship's just, it's awesome. And for what she still does now, and now obviously the last couple of years we've played Masters together up in cold Ballarat. But we both enjoy, I'm always straight away like, I'm coming with you, and we have an hour and a half in the car just talking shit.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to swear because there's no kids.
And it's wonderful. Yeah, and I don't get told off, and she wants to pull into Macca's, and I don't even want to eat Macca's, but then I eat Macca's and then I regret it. But our friendship's just great, and, you know, and I can call her about anything, not to do with baseball, and she's a great listener, and I love that. So
you mentioned Trent and the kids, and I'll talk to Chevy. We're going to have her in a few weeks, but I think it is important to highlight just the significance of the support that he's provided.
Yeah.
And the kids, because their mum's gone for, 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday, and they're super supportive. So a shout out to Trent. I'm sure he will listen to this at some point. We love what you do, and we love you, mate. So thank you for and thanks for sharing that, because I think Chevy is a sense of calm for all of us, and I love that about her. I'm still trying to pitch and still go to training and throw pens, and she just comes out and goes, "Wig, that's crap. Like, that's shit. you need to do this, this, and this." And I say, "Great."
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you to sugarcoat it. You got to, okay, we'll do this then. And I love that. And it's never aggressive. It's just, this is what it is. Here you go.
Yeah. I had just a quick funny story with Chevy, and I thought about it yesterday when you've given us some questions to think about. With Chevy, I reckon, I don't know what year it was, and it would have been a hot Tuesday night. And I remember she's in the catching gear and she's throwing it over, and we might have been, I don't know, we were doing whatever drill Mick and Benny had us doing. And I remember going, "It's so easy throwing over to second base, mate. Like, my arm's still good. I can squat in the catching position and smash one over to second and throw runners out." And she's like, "All right, we'll give it a go." So you might have got on the hill, or someone did. And I got down into the catching position, and I'll never do it again because I can't even move after being on the concrete floor in the garage for 10 minutes doing work stuff. And I got the ball and I got it and I piffed it over, and it just dribbled in. And I was like, "Oh God!" And she looked at me and she's like, "See, there you go." So I had a go, but she didn't have a crack at me about well, you're not going to be able to, because I'm a bit of a hero when I'm carrying on around the club, and she put me in my spot because catching is bloody hard, and being able to catch to us, and majority of the time, we're throwing big, massive curveballs, and she's got to block it, and the amount of times also that she got injured too. So she's a tough gamer, as in hitting the head, and she'd blow up like, Elephant Man on the side of her head and all these sorts of things. But what a gamer she is.
Yeah,
and now, she's in her early 40s with 2 kids, and Trent's just fantastic for her. So
that's great.
There you go, Trent and Chevy.
The Trent and Chevy podcast.
It's pretty much.
Ella, these photos, I pulled these up from this. This is the 09-10 season.
That looks like Berwick, is it?
It is Berwick's ground. You were playing
Isn't
against
it funny? You can
Springvale
figure
Berwick.
Yeah.
See that.
And you were pitching, and I love these photos because I felt lucky to be on your team because I was scared of you.
Yes.
So I still remember playing against you at Blackburn and just being petrified because you threw hard. Like back then, there were some pitches who were like reasonable, but you threw hard and I was scared. So one of the other like sort of...
I didn't ever think that throwing hard was a strength of mine.
Oh, no, it was.
No.
And you're a little bit erratic at times.
Yeah.
Which that
made it
was
scarier.
Good. Yeah.
That made it
so
scarier.
if you'd throw one and it'd hit the back net, which it never did, but you could have thrown one in there once every 2-3 innings, and then that all puts us back on our because your intimidation on the mound was exceptional.
No, I remember that feeling of getting on the mound. Before you get on the mound, like game time comes,
something clicks,
and you're like, yes, like warming up on the field. And see, my catcher that I feel I had a really good pitcher-catcher relationship with.
And I know who you're going to say.
Was Cal Manzi.
Yeah. Right. Okay. No, I'm surprised. I'm surprised there. Yeah. Won't say.
At Springvale.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I always thought I loved pitching to Kel.
Me too.
Yeah.
And
I was the same.
she was a quiet little pocket rocket.
Yeah.
And I just think, I don't know, I couldn't tell you what exactly it was, but I just felt really comfy with.
Yeah, I love
whatever
that.
she called. I'd be happy to throw, and she called it at the right time. It was like she knew what
you were
I
thinking
should do in the right moment. And I loved
I love that.
pitching to her.
I look at the way
I'm worried about why you're
I look at the
laughing.
way, like that photo on the left especially, and you just same as what Simone was saying, which was when we would play against each other, you'd get up on the mound and you'd get your cleats and you'd scrape off the bloody and you're like she's like a bull
And you'd flick your hair.
and you'd flick your hair
Because I
And you're-
have to tell you
and you
that
went into
the
beast mode.
routine was so much a part of
Yeah,
like me just having that routine. I knew that I was in control,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I love that.
Once
just
that
switched.
routine
Yeah.
kind of was out, then things started to go wrong. But
Yeah.
if I was in control of my routine,
Yeah.
then things would.
I think that's really important for the,
Yeah, I
the
like that.
younger girls that are
Yeah.
listening to this who are pitchers. Like that to me was just such a big part of who you were, because if I look at those photos, you were fierce. Kat said beast mode. Like you were intimidating, and that's one thing. I think Kat and I were good pitchers, and people knew we had good off speed or whatever, but we weren't the intimidating Ella. Like you were, people feared you, I think, and they knew because you were like this sweet little lovely
You were
girl
quiet.
who brushed her hair and
Yes.
wore dresses and la la la. But it came to game day and you were like this. It was like you were bipolar, or you turned into this different. You were
Hulk,
it was
the
beast
Hulk.
Bring it
mode,
on.
and you were fierce,
Yeah.
and you were.
Yeah.
I actually would suggest that you had the most white line fever of us.
I think so.
You
probably.
really
Yeah.
you got into
Considering
this.
I took one of my best friends out at the place.
At Altona, yes.
You did.
Yeah,
we
probably.
all remember that one.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
tell me what it's like. We could talk about this for hours. Well, how do you not replace that? But obviously now you're a teacher, kids, family. Is there something else you do in your life now?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
I would love to. I've actually, and you said that training wasn't the best thing.
No, I didn't enjoy training.
I didn't
that
enjoy
much.
training.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I would love to train again.
Well,
Yeah.
you can
I
come
don't
on
have the
down.
time to play.
Yeah.
Come on down. 5
come
o'clock
on
on a
down.
But I
Tuesday.
would. I am feeling that. Oh God! Especially now that my girls are playing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I'm starting
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
know, and I go, oh, I'd love to throw a ball again. I'd love to.
When was the
know.
last time you actually?
I've had little throws
Yeah,
over the
yeah.
years, but
I
honestly,
think you could put-
regularly.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
back until before I was married,
Yeah.
2011.
Yeah.
I think
Like,
your springy uniform would just go straight back on you, and I don't think the muscle
I'd
memory,
love to have the time.
the
But
muscle memory for you would it'd just
I feel
straight back in.
like that was a time where that's what I lived for. Like
Yeah.
baseball was everything.
It was for you, yeah,
And
for sure.
we played when we were playing for the Australian team as well. And I mean, we were playing a lot because
Yeah.
we had to play the men's if it was winter.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We
Good
played
thinking, yep.
women's. It was a weekend full of baseball because we'd be out at,
And we would have to train on
training
a Sunday,
Sunday
morning.
morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and
then they'd make
after
you
having
play
a few hours, a couple of hours
Yeah.
sleep after being to a nightclub the
Yeah.
night before.
Yes, Ella.
Um,
Yeah,
and soldiering on.
yeah.
No, but that was what I
It was
lived
a lot of
for.
baseball.
And now, my priorities changed and
Yeah.
my family, and I have a passion for my teaching, and so I put a lot into that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I don't have time
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
put it into.
If
other
it was a
things,
10-day,
but,
if it was a 10-day week, you might,
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
you had
you'd
more
be able to
time,
fit.
I'd be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Mm.
You talked about turning up from a nightclub,
Oh.
and I want a bit
I'm
of a
so
shout
glad
out here
you don't
to.
have a photo.
I know, a bit of a
over
shout
there.
out to Shay. One of the, if you had to list the party animals of the 30 years, I mean, Shay would be up there. And that's her earlier this year when we won the grand final. Tina Turner leading the Proud Mary dance in the club rooms.
You need to see it. You need to see it,
The
Ella.
full
It's
version's about
bloody,
10 minutes. We have got some video.
Oh, it's
But
wonderful.
the OGs of the party animals were really you two when you established the post-grand final Grease Megamix sing-along and dance.
Danny and Sandy.
Thankfully for you two,
And I'm married to
media,
Sandy, so there you go.
social media didn't exist,
Yep.
which I think is a blessing for you two.
Yes.
Yep.
Memories from those times, and I'll bring up, this is, a couple of photos from this is actually, these are from separate times. So the one on the right a win, and the one on the left a loss. But
What did you just say? I'm so fit.
We're so fit.
Oh, you're
Back
fit
then.
there. Yeah.
how important was the
Wow.
off-field stuff for you though? Like we talk about the fierce competitive white line fever, but the
Yeah.
off-field stuff was
Well,
awesome.
it was your
Awesome.
your release,
That
wasn't
was
it?
our-
I think
That
it
was what we did. Like,
Yeah.
that was our downtime. That
played
was-
hard, partied hard.
Yeah.
Like
When we weren't playing and we weren't working, we were together,
yes,
hanging out.
Yep, I love
Like,
it.
Yeah.
And we had, and the photos there of the girls on the right with the medal around your neck. But sometimes when the medal wasn't around our neck, we would disgrace ourselves even more and have better. And then we would still have to get up that next morning and go
to
oh,
training.
God, and we'd have to go to Port Melbourne for
That
training.
was hard.
Or we'd
I couldn't do it now.
and
No
the coach
way.
could smell the grog on us. Like, it was terrible. Yeah. But that's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Fun
Fun
times.
times. One last thing before we get into our quiz and finish off. Kat, you spoke a little bit about this, but I want to ask you a little bit about coming back into the fold. As you said, you sort of got this itch to give back and get involved again. You've come back in and there's this whole... I think the culture from when you were there is still somewhat there, but of course it's shifted. There's different people, and one of them obviously BT, a young whippersnapper.
Yep.
Sure. On the left there, and then obviously you with...
She's become one of my little favourites, BT.
She's one of everyone's
She played off the
favourites.
bench this year, and when she went to the outfield, she did a job. And she was in the state team this year, so we're all super proud of her. But yeah,
What's it been like for you though, coming back in? Because playing for you, and Ella just said, like it was this thing for us. It was everything sort of we did. All our energy went into playing, and you moved away, got married. Arthur and Martha
No
came
kids,
along. All that
Two
stuff
buddies.
happened. You're doing other things in your life, and you've come back, and it's a really different role you're playing. How are you finding that? Are you enjoying it? It sounds like you're learning stuff. One of the things I've loved about having you back coaching is that you're just a sponge. You're not shy in saying, I don't necessarily know everything, help me.
Yeah.
And you want to help the team. And of course, again, I think that's the culture that we've created over a long period of time. But have you enjoyed it? Are you enjoying it? What's it been like?
I love it. And waking up on a Saturday morning, and we do have to travel a fair distance with the teams, but being in the car and just having that excitement, all of a sudden I've become I make all the salad rolls for the coaches. Now it's turned into most of the team, so you're going to have to chip in a bit because I'm poor.
Wow.
But it is, and I don't have kids, so I got to make the salad rolls.
They're great rolls, Ella.
Well, Chevy was like one time, it was like, I preferred the aioli more than the pickle. So
Putting their order in.
all of a sudden I'm getting, that's
No
right.
mayo,
So,
thanks.
I think Simone's pretty good. She just says she loves it every time. So
I do.
that means that
I don't
that's a good-
complain.
So
I just-
don't
When
complain
someone else makes
because you're not going to get one, Chevy. But no, it's just become, I don't know, it's so rewarding now.
Mm-hmm.
But I get my fix now also from playing 36 holes of golf a week.
Yeah.
And I seem to find the time. I don't know how, but anyway. And I've taken a couple of the girls down to the golf club, and Bronnie Gel. So Bron plays with us now. So didn't know if you know that. So Bronnie Gel and Shay have come and had a hit, and it's kind of funny because we've all got the same baseball bloody swings, but they seem to sometimes they go straight and then they. But so I get my fix from golf, but now coming and helping the girls, and like I feel I'm exhausted and I'm sweaty and I'm buggered at the end of it, but I love throwing BP to the girls, and I've got to still do TheraBand, Ella, during the week.
Jesus.
I know, right? And when I came back to the club, I had to ring Chevy, and I'm like, oh, my TheraBand snapped because it gets all old and manky. And I'm like, where do you get them from? So she got me one, thank God, and I've still got it. But I have to TheraBand every day. But it's like a thing that your arm just feels like a strong lacquer band, and you're ready to go. And throwing to the girls, and I try and put a bit of pop on it, and just throwing to all the girls every Saturday. I hope that they're ready to rock and ready to go, and I love it, and as Simone was sort of saying, getting that experience from her, speaking to Shanners, also speaking to Chev, and we've got more senior girls in the team with Shay and now Bron coming on board. Just if I bugger up, I want them to tell me, and then I learn from it, and because nothing's ever going to go correct. And I buggered up a couple of times last year, and thank God it didn't cost us. But I love it now. You know, these young girls. It is very different with these young girls nowadays compared to how we were. We were spoken to a little bit different compared to, we've got to rub them on the back now and all of those
Times
sort of
have changed.
Yes,
Times have changed.
so everyone gets a medal nowadays.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah,
That's
love
really,
it, mate. Love
really, really cool to hear, and great to hear that you're loving it. We're loving having you back, by the way.
Great.
This is 30 years in 5 minutes to finish off our chat.
It's like drip tray on front bar. Where he throws the thing over.
And I've got a couple of questions here that I'm going to ask, and you can, whoever wants to go first, chime in. Favourite on-field memory?
Have you got one in mind?
Favourite on-field? Probably no, I can't think, but most of the time it is when we know we're clinching the grand final win. So I said to you, I don't know if I said to you, but I always remember that very first grand final, I was playing first base. So I must have started, which you guys said I did.
Yeah.
I went to first base. You were in right field.
Yeah.
And for 6 outs, I kept counting down. I'd 6 outs, and I'd turn around to you, and then I'd go 5, 4, 3, and then I knew we were going to win it. And when we won it, so those 10 minutes of us jumping on each other, and that is what I always remember. And I did break a finger at that whatever one it was where I jumped, or Jay jumped into me, and we all ran out there. 100% I broke my pinky finger in the jump in. So there you go. So injury.
Was at the end of the game,
that's right.
end of the season.
But they're the memories I think, crucial outs when you gun it to first base and you pick someone off, a special somebody back in the day, and you made coasters for that. Those memories, I love it.
I mean, grand finals are always going to be memorable, and that feeling of we've won. But I just think personally that feeling that I spoke about before, like you switch on, and that feeling of competitiveness, like, yes, I'm here to. I remember one game we played at Doncaster, and it was raining, and I was thinking, oh God, I hate playing in the rain and stuff like that, and I wasn't that motivated. And then I heard that Doncaster wanted to forfeit. They wanted to, and I thought,
a rain out.
That's it.
Yes,
they are not in this now. I was like, no, I want to play. That switched me on. I'm like, you don't want to play? I want to beat you now.
Yeah, love that.
And just that feeling of, and no matter where I played, like being in the outfield and making a good throw, from a runner coming home from third, and just that drive that you want to win, you want to play well, and I remember that feeling, and
the one thing I do remember, and I thought about it yesterday. Greg Morley was coaching first base, and I think we were down by, and I wasn't a hitter, obviously I was a pitcher, but sometimes you get to the middle of the order, and that was quite nice. But I think it was Elsa Davidson pitching, or I can't think of the other bird's name. God. And we were down. Kathy Welsh. Kathy, hi. We were either, it was tied or we're down by one, bottom of the 7th, and Shay was at second base, I think, and I got slotted one and I nailed it. I think I did it twice, honestly, and I nailed it down the third base line, and then one to sort of centre left, and it went deep. And I remember running to first base, and I wasn't going to 2 because I didn't need to, but I think I got yelled at for not bolting to second base, but we'd won the game. So I threw my helmet up in the air, and Greg was there, and we all came in, and and it's a bit of a I love myself moment, but that type of that was those feelings. The grand final wins, but because I don't win a game like that. That doesn't happen to me, and I think it happened twice. And it was against our arch enemy. So
that's awesome.
Love that.
They're great memories. Though. I love those off-field memories. Like any favourites? I mean, there's probably a lot. But
so many,
plenty.
But just like hanging back at the club.
Being together.
After a win or a loss. And I think you said, like, we probably partied harder when we lost.
Yes, for sure.
And, just, like, little moments of funny things that happened and, lots of good memories off field.
Yeah, exactly what Alice said. We can talk about this forever. And when we're 60 years old, we can still talk about this sort of stuff because it's just so much fun. But it's the winning, and that came from hard bloody work. And so,
just
it paid
being
off.
Part of a team, like that's what I really hope for my kids.
Yeah.
That they get into team sport.
Team sport's the best.
It was so good. Like we relied on each other. We really we worked together during training. We laughed together. We went away together. Yeah. We
spent a lot of money together.
We argued together, but we said it to each other's face. Yeah. And we got it out and we got over it.
There has been some, awkward times, but that's what makes your friends.
A lot of support,
friendships better.
At the end of the day, I think there was always a respect for everybody. And even if people weren't getting along, there was a respect. Yeah. And I think that's what I look back and think, even though there were tough times, that there was always that level of respect there knowing that your mates who you'd been mates with for a long time had been working hard and were there for you and supported you. So I think that's really important to reflect on. Often people reflect and go, oh, this was really horrible or really hard, but I like to go the other way and say, you know what, there were more great times.
Yeah,
but I think we became stronger because of those. Like,
true. That's true as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
losing grand finals sucks, but when you win them, Jesus. And so probably for us to lose that first grand final, we knew what it was like, and I think I might have lost 4 or 5 before I won my first one, and Jesus, it feels good when you do get one. Yeah. And then they did roll on, and Simone gets up every year after we do win one and says, these don't hang around forever, but we have been lucky that they have. Yeah. But it ain't gonna
created our own luck, Kat.
Yeah,
I say.
Yeah.
Favorite teammate.
Favourite teammate.
Oh, yeah, I know. Isn't it awful? Because you two are my favourite because I'm in here today.
I feel like you have to say it.
I know. No, everyone's your favourite in a way. I think I've enjoyed playing with Shay over the time because we're silly together and things like that. But I'd probably have to say Chevy for me, just with our really good friendship. And that's why I came back to the club as well to help coach with her. So I'd have, but you two as well, of course.
We'll take it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you answered the question.
Favorite. No, but I just think wherever I played, like you'd know that the people around you had your back. Like,
damn right. Yeah.
I'd look to third and I'd have you or Huffy.
Yeah.
And if if there's a bunt down, then we know
Yeah.
what to do.
Yep.
If there's a hit, I know you're going to get it.
Yeah.
We knew where to go, how to support each other, and you always had
and we're
someone
always
there.
going to stick up for each other if anything ever became argy-bargy between a
yeah.
team, and that happened a couple of times. Remember the bolt out to the first baseline?
Yeah, it was the three of us.
I think it was.
So Paula,
Did she get
someone
drilled?
from one of our opposition teams pushed Paula Finch off second, and the
Yes.
three of us were the only three. Jumped out of the dugout,
And we were a couple of
and
metres
were
from the line
going towards
nuts.
the field to go
Yeah.
out there. We were never going to.
No,
But
we're piss weak.
We
But, yeah.
we wanted to show
The
that-
white
Show.
line fever came
Yeah.
out.
Well, we wanted to
because
support our teammate
That's
because
right.
we didn't like the treatment.
No.
So.
And
I think, Ella, for you, it sounds like and I've loved hearing your account of it, but I feel like for you it was the team that you were involved in for those years were your favourites. It was the
Yeah.
team, it wasn't one.
It was.
And I understand how that feels. Best player you've played with, and this is so hard
Oh,
because
Jesus, it's
we've
all of
had
us.
some amazing players at the club, but if you had to name one or two of the best that you've played with, who would they be?
I feel like it was you, Simone.
Oh,
Simone,
hello.
You could do anything. And you would hit, you were reliable, you could pitch, you would field anywhere. You led the team either by being a player or by being a coach. You, at training, helping out with anything, batting, pitching, fielding, like you knew it. I reckon, Simone.
That's
There-
really
there.
lovely
you
because
go.
that's
No, I do
really
feel
kind
that you were such a-
amongst everyone.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
I think,
Ella.
and
is
what you've said is 100%, but I'm not going to say you. Anyway,
I'd expect nothing less.
no,
Catherine.
we're best friends. Look, the imports that we've had have been like Rissa back in the day, and we had a young girl come out this season just gone sour, and we call her sour, like as in sour gummy and whatever. But she was, mate, you should have seen. Oh Jesus, her stats of baseball, but she was unbelievable. But and we've played with so many good people. But I pitching wise for me, yes, we had our pitchers because this is a pitchers sort of podcast today. Pitcher for me is sitting across from us. But as an overall player, and she gets the accolades, but sometimes she doesn't, is Shay. Shay Lillywhite for me, she'd have to come on the pitch every now and again, but her longevity in the game, and she's just finished up playing in the Australian team. So for years and years, like other people were getting the awards, but she's always still batting 400, 500, 600 or whatever. So I'd say Shay.
Yep.
I think
And she'll
so.
love
Awesome.
that. I would probably agree with you, but she'll love that because she's argued till she's blue in the face for years, probably with you two as well, but with me, about how the pitchers always get accolades.
Well,
the pitchers get this.
they do.
The pitchers
Yeah.
get that. The pitcher's got a podcast before her too.
Ah.
She's coming on. Don't worry, Shay.
Yeah.
And we mentioned you in
I
the
should
podcast
I should
too.
come in that day. I'll just
But
come on in.
I tend to agree with you, and there's
Yep.
only one in the 30 years, so we've played 21 grand finals in Div 1 in a row, and there's only one player who's been at every one of those grand finals, and it wasn't me, it was her.
Yeah.
I've been at the club for 30 years, the longest, but Shay's the only player to have been at every one of those games, so I missed one of them. I did my ACL and we won a flag in the threes at the time it was.
Yeah.
And Albie was a coach, great memories, but I wasn't at Altona and you guys lost to Doncaster that day.
Oh,
But I think
she was
when
there.
you talk about longevity, like for someone to literally, and I haven't played in all the grand finals either because I've had a lot of injuries. She has literally played in every one of those 21 grand finals and won
amazing,
15 flags.
Wow.
I mean, how
yeah.
can you
That's
not
awesome.
look at that
Yeah.
and go, that's just, you know,
And the
again,
time she puts into her preparation is, and she's about to turn 40, but the way she's getting injuries like we all sort of have. but what an outstanding player, but what an outstanding person as well. I mean, we had her thing late last year. And that was what a night that was. But for me, and right now she's in Japan and she's helping the Japanese team get to the World Cup.
Awesome.
So
Yeah,
there
you go, Shay. Not all about the pictures today.
Read me.
Funniest person at the club. Can't say yourself, Kat.
Oh, shit. There's been a few, but I'm just going to say it again. Me and Shay, when we hang out together, we've got a different language. We get rolls. Simone's eyes roll every time back in the day with me and Shay because we'd act like idiots. Yeah. But I don't know. I reckon she's the funniest. Just with me, like the blokes are funny too. I used to have great times.
Look at me.
Oh, exactly.
There's a few good lines.
But even Benny Bartlett for me and him, we'd just crack jokes all the time. And but Shay for me, big time. Yeah.
Oh, I reckon Linda.
There you go. Elb.
Linda, I just love her. I love.
Can you give us more information on who Linda is?
Okay, so Linda played with us, well, I don't know, back when
early on
I was playing.
Yeah.
And
what's she otherwise
Linda's
known
number
as?
is 44.
44, crack.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
She was known, and I hope that she's not offended by this, but she was known to have a can in one hand and a cigarette in the other.
Beautiful.
And dancing.
I love it.
Loved going out with her too. I remember going out with her, and she would generously, do the first round of shout the first
for everybody.
round.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And she'd be like, right, who wants what? And she'd take everyone's order, including the designated driver that was, always a water or a soft drink.
Yeah.
And she would regularly forget the soft drink. She'd only remember the alcoholic
That's very
drinks.
funny. Very funny. I've heard some funny stories about
and
her.
just things that, she was such a loyal friend. Yeah. And, she'd do or say inappropriate things when we were out, but it was Linda, and she was life of the party. We used to go to her dad's house and have spa there.
Night. Yeah.
Was that just near Karingal Shopping Centre, wasn't it?
No. Devon Meadows.
No, wrong area.
Yeah.
Sold that house.
She was hilarious. Always make me laugh.
So
cool.
I agree with you too, and we're talking about Albie.
You went to school with her, did you?
No, we didn't go to school together, but we knew each other.
So who's your funniest person? We'll turn the podcast
hands down, Albie.
back. Yeah, right.
Like, there's no. I mean, look, Shay's a close second. I agree.
Yeah.
But no, I've never seen someone turn up to a game in high heels in their full uniform.
Oh my god!
Because she didn't have any other shoes, and then had to find
with a
fag
in her hand as she's walking over.
She's coming on in a week or so, and we'll quiz her. But I think you've nailed it.
Yeah, good
both
one.
of you. Favourite coach?
I say Greg. Greg was really cool, I think. And Adam, my husband, and I were talking about it this morning because we were looking at that grand final photo. He's like, oh, that's when Greg was coaching, and how great of a person he was. And he's just so supportive and positive, just had such a positive outlook on.
How many years did he coach coaches? Was it 2 or 3?
No,
or it was a long time. Yeah.
I think he was around for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, okay. There you go. So that's dedication right there, because I think he ran his own business and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So
he had such a calm and
he was very calm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's why it worked well with Mick and him, because Mick would blow his top
it was
quite a bit,
but
then we had the calmness, you know. And even that now with the girls now, I feel that sometimes when things need to be said, Simone gets there and gives it to the girls, but then Chevy's the little calm one on the side. Sometimes. and now I've been told to give him a little bit of stick. So
Yeah.
I sort of just, on the side and then.
I'm the mouthpiece. Chevy's just telling me what to say.
Yeah, okay.
She just knows they're a bit more scared of me, I
But
think.
anyway, but for me, we've had quite a few coaches, and I enjoyed like Benny Bartlett. We had some
Yeah.
successful times with him. But I would have to say Mick, just for me, because I liked getting, sort of getting told things that you didn't want to hear sometimes.
Yeah.
Because people just want to be nice and whatever, but he's come from the 1950s of I don't care who you are and your girls and all this sort of shit. Yeah. It was just tell it how it is, and you're doing so. You probably you're done on the mound and you're knackered, and he just come out and good job, give me the ball, and then that was it.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, if you're having a couple of beers, and normally late in the season, if we've had a few frothies, he would maybe break down a little bit and tell you, some nice things. But it wouldn't happen that often. But I did enjoy Mick as a coach for us.
I think we all knew too that when we were getting a spray, which happened pretty much every week, that he wanted us to be better. Like he cared that we were better because he knew we were good, and he had those high expectations. And I think in the end we realised this is because he wants us to do well.
Yeah,
and
for
I
sure.
do think that helped.
Yes, we did know that. We did. Yeah.
I think sometimes it was hard for some players who don't necessarily respond well to that type of feedback.
Yeah.
But as a group, I think we got it, and we're like, great, take it on the chin. Some weeks it hurt, and particularly for me because he was my father. But some weeks it was like, well, I think that was a bit rough. But I get it. Yeah. I get it. And I want to be better. And I want the team to be better. So I think we
definitely drove us to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And you didn't want to be grilled at the end. So
no.
you had to.
Can you remember?
Had to do
can you
the
remember
right
if we got done and it was tight and you're walking up the line and you're like, oh God, please don't pick me.
Yes.
He's gonna
down.
single
like, where
me
do
out.
I stand next
He's
to him.
gonna single me out, and he's gonna fucking rip us a new one, and we're, But if you didn't get that, then wonderful. But if you copped it, you have to eyeball him. Don't look down.
Yeah.
Looking down's weak. You got to look at him and
it was
just
scary though.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? And, there you
That's
go.
funny. It leads us into the last question, and it's called the Mick Wern question.
Oh, God.
Because whenever there was a moment where something would happen on the field, and for example, a game at Springy, well before your time, we're playing Oakley, and the fly ball went to left field, and the poor old left fielder from Oakley hit her in the face, knocked a tooth out. So time was called looking for the tooth. And you would hear Mick on the side doing the circus music. Is there a moment you remember where you can just hear Mick's? Was there something that happened where we stuffed up? Or
I think there was a couple of times, like if I'd started and we might have had 10 or 11, then I'd be then on the bench, or I'd get to play first word. But there was times I do remember sitting on the bench at Springy, and he'd be sitting there, and then obviously the rest of you guys are out in the field. So if something went wrong, it would be
And you heard the inside at what you didn't hear on the field, like.
Well, that's right. So I'd sit there and I'd have
it's
to
not
go.
Like he'd keep things private.
No.
But his underlying talk just.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But it'd be like,
you'd
catch
hear
that.
it,
How
and
did you
you'd be
not
like,
catch
oh
that
God.
fucking ball? And then you'd be, and because everyone's perfect, But yeah, I think maybe someone might have dropped a ball in left field, and he's like, yeah, you're playing with your fucking hair and whatever.
You're going to have to put that beep in.
I'm sorry, beep. It was something like that, and I don't know, you'd have to jog my memory, but it was very funny, some of the things, and very inappropriate for nowadays.
Very.
That you can't say to the young girls of today, but we just all stood there and went, okay, and if
you're reminding me of his when he used to take off people and impersonate them, because he did Ella a couple of times, and he used to brush his hair.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
See what I mean? Yeah,
the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
So those.
I remember him pretending to run, like what are you doing?
So all of a sudden he's
What are
running
you
with
thinking?
a dress on.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And him
If you got caught in a rundown or something. Yeah.
Seriousness
Yeah.
in his face. Like, you couldn't laugh.
No.
You,
If you laughed, you
he
were
tore you to
stuffed.
bits.
Yes.
But you wouldn't because
No,
it
you're
was
terrified.
terrifying.
You're terrified. It's like being told off by your mum or your dad, which for you, each and every Saturday. Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's all I can come up with.
Yeah,
But,
no,
well,
same. Just
yeah.
Love it.
Very funny though.
We could
looking back.
Yeah. Well, now we're
Looking
grown
back, we can
adults.
Hi, Mick. If
We
you're
survived.
Jesus.
just to finish off, we have got, and I'm really hopeful. I feel like Friday the 31st of January could be
My
an
birthday.
important day for you.
Oh,
Ella.
it's Ella's birthday.
It's Ella's birthday, but she'll be spending
Yeah.
it at the waltzing
There you
because
go.
we're having a function to celebrate
There you
30
go.
years of
Fabulous.
the women's program,
Awesome.
and we'd love you and Paddle Pop Lion to come along.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
we're hoping to get a bunch of players, supporters who've been involved for the 30 years to come and celebrate and have a couple of quiet
That will be a wonderful
drinks
night.
and
Yep.
and enjoy it. I want to say a huge thank you. We could sit here for hours and
We could.
and
Well, we're
reminisce.
continuing this.
Well, we
Yeah,
have to
I
go
can't
over the
see you
road
in this.
for a pot and palmer. So it's Simone shouting, I think.
But I can't thank you enough. It's been so fun to talk about the old times, and I think in 30 years when we get back here, maybe in a
70.
different location, and we're having
74.
these conversations again, and we're reflecting on 60 years past, and by then, Ella, your
hope so.
beautiful kids will be playing and doing their thing
Yeah.
in sport. But
Hope.
you two have been two of my favourites, and the contribution you've made and continue through what you've done already at the club it's just massive. So a big thank you from me, and a big thank you for giving up your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks for having
Mike.
us. Thanks for thinking of me.
Watch it. It's going to be good. Listen to it. There you go.
Thanks, Jeremy.